Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Sovereign Goddess Podcast. Authentic conversations with modern medicine women and goddesspreneurs alike, inspiring you to build your queendom with grace. I'm your host, Sabrina Riccio, and today with Faye. I'm really excited about this conversation right now. I've got my very dear friend and sister here with me, Faye Wylder. I feel so blessed to call her my friend and my personal earth angel.
No.
This is the woman that, I call her and she is like, all right, let's breathe together. Let's pray together. And she helps me keep it real. And I also love Faye because she's got an exquisite taste in music.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Sabrina.
It's kind of like the beat of my heart. So I love her. But I really am really excited to have Faye here because we have a very big day coming up. And it's the feast day of Mary Magdalene. And let me tell you, this goddess, she is for sure an initiate of the Magdalenes, and I won one of her a contest when she was doing her Magdalene Entrepreneur, and this woman was just like channeling Mary Magdalene for four sessions, and it was just really beautiful to see how Mary Magdalene is here to really help us to the next level. And this is something she really prophesies. She was in this dark age for a really long time, and it wasn't until recently that the Pope pardoned her, essentially, and anointed her as a saint. And so that's what this feast day is all about, is, her sainthood of the Catholic Church. And growing up Catholic, we were always taught that Mary Magdalene was shameful and the prostitute and the slut. She was just a sovereign goddess, and the hierarchy the patriarchy couldn't handle it, straight up. So I'm really excited to have this beautiful woman here, this light caster, this prayer, and she truly is living her art, and her life is a living prayer. And she is just this huge embodiment of love and of compassion and of authenticity and kindness. And she's a beautiful mother of two. And so, yeah, she's the ultimate goddesspreneur, badass mom. I love her. So I invite and welcome Faye.
Oh, sister, that's thank you. So beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. I want to look in the camera, but I want to tell you I love you so much. And I'm so grateful. We prayed before we got started, and when you talked about everything that's led us to this moment, I just felt oh yes, it's all been perfect. And I'm loving what is, and I'm also so thrilled for what's coming, because it's more and more and more is coming for us, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not for us, it's coming through us, by us. Yeah. So thanks for having me. I'm so grateful to be here. Hello, everybody.
Yay. Okay. So she mentioned that we started with a prayer before we got on, but would you be open to lead a prayer for everyone that's here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I just realized I have to grab one more crystal. Pardon me.
Yeah. See, it's we have to, this is authentic conversations here. And if she's saying she's got to grab a crystal, it's because Magdalene's yo, girl, grab that crystal right now. But yeah, so we are here to pray. We are here to talk about Mary Magdalene. And she is this beautiful, divine, feminine essence of who we really are. And this is the rise of the divine feminine we're talking about here. And she is helping really lead the way. So now that Faye's back, what'd you get? A Lumerian? That thing is stunning. Damn, girl. You can cast some major spells with that thing.
That's my homie right
Yeah.
here. So. Okay. Let's just take a deep breath. Holy Mother and Holy Father of all life, the sweet spirit that is running within us and without us, ahead of us, behind us, below us, above us, in all ways is us. We invite you into this place, into this body, into this space, into this podcast where you already are, infusing us, our voice, our cells, our brilliance with more and more love, always more love. May we shine, and may this talk reach all who need it, right when they need it. Please make us both clear channels of light and love. And we give thanks for this opportunity. We give thanks for being alive at this time on earth. We give thanks to all of those who have gone ahead of us. And we give thanks to ourselves for showing up to do the work for all of the years before this, and in this morning time, and doing all this legwork and preparation to be here right now on earth in this moment. And I call into this space my beloved sister, Mary Magdalene, to join us and to guide us and to come through with her brilliant essence, with her energy and her support and empowerment. And she's reminding us exactly what you said, Sabrina. It is an essence. I am a woman. I walked the earth. I have a human story, but I am a frequency. You are a frequency. And you are so brilliant, you may reverberate throughout the ages. And so it is. Amen. Thank you.
Amen. Woo! We're getting elevated early in this podcast.
Early morning, dude. Yeah.
Early morning. So I would love for you to share how you had your initiation with Mary Magdalene and the influence of her life, in your life.
Yeah. Okay. So I was in a Catholic school when I was little. I wasn't raised Catholic, but I was sent to the school, and I really loved it, actually. I loved learning about all the stories, and I loved all the pageantry, and I was there for second grade. So everyone got their first communion, and I was allowed to kind of like participate, but not receive communion. And I loved the adornment, and I loved it. And that's probably the first place I ever heard of Mary Magdalene, and a lot like you shared, Sabrina. I called you Mary.
Happens all the time.
It happens all the time. That's right. You know, I just kind of like got wind of the story that she was this woman that Jesus had saved, and like it was okay that she was a woman, and that she was like legit because Jesus had saved her from this life of prostitution, which is what, you know, was like, it was just a given that that's a life of sin, and that means that something's wrong and shameful. So that was kind of my, like, what I remember. And then in 2012-ish, I had a breathwork session. I think it was my very first breathwork session with one of my teachers. And I was in a place in my life where I had a lot of spiritual experience and a lot of, you know, awakening, but I was still, it was like really up here in my head. And I hadn't yet integrated it into my body through my cells. And so that's why breath is so powerful. And maybe we'll talk about that. But it's like completely fast and effective at bringing like whatever's up here, whatever inspiration or information is coming through here, bringing it and integrating it into the entire cellular structure of the body. So I was having this breathwork session. In the beginning, I was like, this is weird. I don't like this. What is this woo-woo stuff? And then at the end, I was like in another realm. And the end of my journey, there I was, and nobody was telling this to me. This was just what was happening. I was lying on the bank of a river, and Mary Magdalene was washing and brushing my hair. And Jesus, Yeshua, her beloved, was helping her. And he was holding the towel, which is like, it's so beautiful and also funny. And I realized that day that Magdalene was my friend, and I started to work with her privately in my own ceremony, in my own meditations, in my own prayer, and a little bit with my private clients. Back then I was like a health coach. I had like legitimate certifications, and would like sit with people and talk to them about what they ate. I knew I wanted to be helping people in this way, and that felt like it was like a safe way for me to start. So I sort of would talk about her if it felt safe with these clients, but it was like it felt very edgy for me to even like bring her up or mention her. And one piece of my story that's important is that I have experience as a sex worker. I was a prostitute very briefly in my youth. And for a long time, I did a lot of healing about it, but I never really brought it up or shared about it because I felt like, oh, that's something that I should keep secret and something that I should be ashamed of. And I want to be really clear that I have done enough work in my life and I'm in a place where I am completely at peace with sharing that piece of my story, and to make sure that anyone who's listening out there knows that you don't have to share all of your story all over the world all the time. That's definitely not the message that's coming through. You want to make sure that you're in a contained space and that you feel protected and guided, which I do. And I feel completely like confident and safe to share that part of my story, and to share that, knowing that there was this myth about Magdalene that she had been a prostitute. It helped me during those years. I was attracted to her because of that story. I was attracted to her because she seemed kind of like the underground one, you know? And even though I knew it wasn't true, her reputation drew me to her. And so to me, and I definitely had a reputation growing up. And so for me, what that kind of, the light of that story is that we don't have to defend ourselves and we don't have to right every wrong. And part of the beauty of the Pope declaring July 22nd, 2016, last year, he declared this Magdalene's feast day. And the church, said a long time ago, I think like in the late 70s, oh, she wasn't a prostitute, that was wrong. But this was a huge deal because he said she is, a feast day is reserved for apostles. Only apostles have a feast day. And so he said she is the apostle to the apostles. I mean, this is like an enormous deal that the Pope, this huge like figure of the patriarchy, is recognizing the divine feminine as an integral part of the story of Christianity. And, whether or not you believe, whatever your religious beliefs or leanings are, you just take that story as metaphor for what's happening on earth. It is incredible. And what happened for me last year when that came through was this understanding that Magdalene was never trying to, she just was waiting and being her truth. And she never had to go back and fix the story. Everything was righted in its own time. She never had to like hate on people or carry around resentments or point the finger or be like, that patriarchy's holding me down. She was just emanating at this frequency of unconditional love, waiting until we were ready to say her name and call her in. And so that's an important message in my own experience. Like, there's nothing for me to be ashamed of. There's nothing for me to be ashamed of. And there's nothing for any of us to be ashamed of, period. Whether there's stories about our life that are true, I mean, who knows what's really true, or stories about our life or ourself that we've just kind of carried around, like a reputation that we've given ourselves, whether we perceive it as coming from outside, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or like nobody likes me, or whatever it is, that we can do anything we want regardless of those feelings and regardless of what we believe of the story that we've been telling to ourselves. And this doesn't negate the necessity for healing work and for integration work and for getting help. I've had a lot of help. I've had all kinds of woo-woo therapy and like mainstream therapy. And I've done a lot of spiritual work in my life and physical work and, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I can't remember your question, obviously, now. I think
She's
it was about
glowing.
Okay,
it's just how Magdalene came through into your life. And I think that's so beautiful.
And I just want to say that today, the way I experience her is really as like my friend and my sister and like a supporter. And the number one message, if I was going to say anything that Magdalene's given me, is this message of empowerment and leading, teaching, and learning through empowerment. And just like what we were chanting, right, is like the guru is within. G, you are you. Yeah. And finding that any support that we rely on is support from people, energy, beings, guides that are like, you can do it. You are beautiful. You are love. Always 100% of the time. And that we stand in a circle. We stand side by side now, that we're letting go of this hierarchical structure that, you know, our species has been working with for so long. And to be patient, because it's been a long time that we've been working with that structure. So to be patient and just keep doing the work, keep walking.
Having faith in the process of the process and
Mm-hmm.
honoring the journey. That was beautiful. And it's really interesting because I'm thinking a lot. Next month I'm teaching in Oregon for the eclipse at this gathering called it's called the Eclipse, Eclipse Gathering and Oregon Eclipse Gathering. And so I've been doing research about the eclipse season and, what's going on. And it really dawned on me like, okay, so the 22nd is Mary Magdalene's feast day. And usually around the 21st, 22nd, 23rd is when we start to have our new moons. And so here we are that we're coming into this new moon of Leo on around the feast day of Mary Magdalene. And this new moon of Leo is really setting the attention to be courageous, to be strong, to go out there and to really have that courage within to really step into your truth and to release what no longer serves with these eclipses, and a lot of us have been feeling this really intense energy lately, especially as empaths and sensitive souls, because we're literally clearing out the garbage and we're being shot forward. But in order to do that, we have to go through these challenging times so that we can create space for everything that's coming through. So there's no accident that the Pope really chose the new moon of Leo to be the feast day of the divine feminine, and the lion rules the heart. That's, you think of the Wizard of Oz as, if I only had a heart.
Mm-hmm.
And Mary Magdalene is that essence of unconditional love, because, no matter, she was judged and ridiculed for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
thousands of years. But she would still have that faith and still guide around. And so I just thought that was really beautiful, that aha that I had, like, wow, there is no coincidence and this beautiful synchronicity of this divine feminine energy during this lioness time of strength and going after it and the courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it takes courage and and if we think of like the story of Magdalene and the story of Jesus and what they were teaching in their time and how dangerous it was essentially for them to be
totally,
especially Magdalene, right? Because she's a woman. She's not even really like, women can just be killed for opening their mouths back then. And still today, let's not forget that still today, this like exists on our planet in different parts of the world. And let's just keep that in our hearts. And that she and Yeshua were so clear on what their mission was. And they were also like really skilled. I think there's this interesting piece about what I just shared about, my own history and like thinking about how Magdalene was like this master shapeshifter and was able to like appear and like be out in the public or kind of become invisible if she needed to be, depending on the audience, to keep herself safe and to keep the message and the group safe. And that it's like so much about discernment in our daily life about like what needs to come through. And sometimes what needs to come through feels like, it's like the discernment of when we get that beating heart, like, oh, I feel like that feeling. Does that mean I need to like pause and take a nap? Or does that mean like I gotta leap, Mm-hmm. And I mean, I can't tell you the answer. Only we inside can tell ourselves the answer, but it is a call for taking the time for ourselves and making, like what you're sharing about, relaxing into the fact that everything is unfolding perfectly and we're not going to make like a terrible wrong move. that we're being divinely guided and there's divine timing, and that even if we kind of make a wrong turn, like
it's just a detour.
Yeah, we'll get rerouted.
I told my friend, it's like, I've made many detours. And I was like, what can I say? I love the scenic route.
That's right. That's right. You're like, I got to see all of it.
Yeah. I'm just like being such a free spirit. It's like, I feel like with my human experience, like I truly want to see all facets of it, because when we do, we're able to come from that space of empathy and compassion for others down the line. Like what we've gone through is here to help, and we are here to serve one another. We are here to stand side by side with one another to help us really cut through this veil that's been really hanging over humanity for an era, you know, and now we're in this new golden era, and we're at these like, I don't even, like maybe even the 11th hour, really, you know, and it's still like being able to have that faith and that trust. And I think what's important more than ever is having a healthy relationship with our spiritual guides that sometimes we can't see. I mean, we can if we're clairvoyant, but we can see them with our spiritual eye. And, you know, right now we are really healing ourselves from a lot of the poisons that we've been fed, and through our waters, through our food, through our technologies, through our air, that are really trying to calcify our pineal gland to connect into that divine spiritual eye. And so that's why I really feel there is this huge goddess revolution really occurring too, because it's an opportunity for us to really go back to basics and to remember who we were, because all of our lifetimes have even led us up to this moment, and to find peace for where we've been, even as a humanity, you know, and just to know that like as a humanity, we've all been doing our best we can based on our level of awareness. And sometimes we've been unaware of what we were doing then because we were so caught up in that ego. And so I feel like Mary Magdalene is helping us to really shine through and cut through that ego, because that's when we're edging God out. That's when we're edging grace out. That's when we are thinking that we don't need assistance from our spiritual guides. We can do this all on our own. And like, we feel like we need to be like the martyr to like save everyone.
Yeah, we're worthy of all the help in the world, all the help.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, when did you, I know Marianne Williamson talks about it a lot, about prayer. And she talks about like that a lot of people have been praying wrong.
Well, I don't know. God, I've actually never read too much Marianne Williamson.
So essentially she's saying that people have been praying wrong because they're praying about all of their problems rather than praying with gratitude and grace, because essentially the tip of the tongue is everything.
Yeah, she's directly connected to our heart center, our heart womb. She's our other way of birthing. We can birth down through our yoni, or we can birth out through our mouth.
And with the tongue, depending on, I talk about this a lot as Kundalini yoga, the way that you speak, it's hitting different meridian points in your mouth. And so that's why you have to really be careful with the words that you say. And that's the serpent, right? Like you think of the hiss. And when the tongue represents that divine feminine, you know, it's that speech. And then the roof of the mouth, when we bring the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth, that's when the Kundalini energy really rises. It's this connection of the masculine and the feminine.
So beautiful. It's so beautiful. I love it. It's these embodiment practices that are like so, the technology is so mind blowing and perfect. It's just natural. It's God in action. I love it.
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because like Mary Magdalene, you know, she was such a devoted initiate to Queen Isis.
Yeah. So, I mean, to talk about the praying. And I was actually just talking with a client about this, and the care with which we choose our words and our mantra, and the precision that our words should have, because they are creating our reality. And, this is, to me, what sovereignty is. Sovereignty is an acceptance of my divinity, an acceptance of my complete responsibility for everything that I'm experiencing, for my physical presence, for my emotional state, for the manifestation around me. It's the end of victimhood, which sounds, this is like, you're like, that sounds good. Like, I want to create anything I want. And along with it comes responsibility to tend to the places that aren't in alignment, and to do whatever work we're called to do to come into alignment. And that can be things like, changing our diet, getting more sleep. That's what I need, is more sleep. But it can also be like, I have to move to another part of the world, or I have to leave this relationship.
It's listening to the call.
It's listening to the call. And in my experience, I have that call all the time, big and little. And now I know, I have a long road to go in my human life this time, but I know the pain of not listening to the call. So like, I listen to the call usually pretty fast, because then, it's like, so what you're speaking about is this piece of, am I willing to accept my status as creator of what is all around me, and to do the work necessary when it's not to my liking and I don't find it's like it's not resonating, to do the work of letting go so that I can create what does resonate for me. And so this piece about prayer is like seeing the world as seeing it's like being out in the world and seeing like, gosh, this is so weird. Why? This is how I feel all the time. I'm like, why are we doing it like this? Why are we showing our children? It's like, I got a dirty look on the airplane a few weeks ago. I was nursing my son. So my boob was out. I have a 2-year, my boob was out. My boob is out. My boob is beautiful. I'm a human being. I have a body, my boob is out. I'm feeding my child. And this guy turned and looked at me, and he gave me a dirty look. And he was watching on his little screen on the airplane, like seriously, like zombie, like gun show, like decapitation, like crazy violence. And, I have that moment of like, this is so weird that you think I am being whatever he was thinking. I'm not sure, but, and there you are watching this crazy violence, right? Like, it doesn't compute up here. And so how does the power of prayer, how does that work? Sweet spirit of all life, I am in a world where nourishing our children is beautiful, no matter how we choose to do it. I live in a world where we don't need to learn from violence and hate and the feeling that we're separate from God anymore. I live in a world where I greet scowls with an open heart of love. I live in a world where what other people think of me has nothing to do with the radiance of my energetic field. Thank you. And so it is. And that's why we say, and so it is, because the power of our prayer is speaking worlds into being. So it is.
And you allow it because you've said the prayer and you've asked. It will come when you act as if, and when you believe in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I do. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and prayers like that are prayers that empower.
That's right. Exactly. And so it's this thing of it's exactly right. It's like, I do pray for help. God, I feel like, I don't know what to do. Show me what to do. Help me. So it's not about like, it's like we are at once the creator and there's also God. Like we are God, but then also
it's
everything
a dance.
else is God. It's a beautiful dance. It's this flow all the time. And that flow takes, just like if you're dancing with a partner, I'm not like a seasoned swing dancer, but one time I went to the swing party in New York, swing dance party. And
Clarification.
maybe one day, we'll see. Anyway. And this guy, I don't know who he was. We didn't even speak. He came to me and he started dancing with me. And I was nervous because I didn't know what I was doing. I was sweating. And he said, just relax. I've got it. Which is like, okay. And he gave me the dance of my life. I mean, I don't know anything about this person. It was like 5 minutes, but it was like that relaxation and surrendering. I didn't know what he was going to do. He spun me, he lifted me, he dipped me. He like, I don't know how he was doing it because I didn't know what I was doing, you know, but it's like allowing that spirit, the spirit that's coming from our heart and the spirit that's all around to lead us and to love us. It's really about allowing that spirit to love on us, that we are worthy. Of course we are worthy. We are here of that much love, of that much support. And when we start to experience, and I think it takes experience, it's like always it takes a leap of faith when we're cultivating this relationship with source, with God, with spirit, whatever it is that calls to you, that there is these moments where we don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea how it's going to turn out, you know, and it's like the cake is in the oven and you
have to trust.
I don't know. I did what the direction said, right? And that can be, you know, scary. And that's when it's so nice to have human friends and people that have walked the road with you who you can rely on and ask for comfort and help. And also friends like Magdalene, who, you know, one thing she's been repeating over and over is, if you want to connect with Mary Magdalene, just ask. Mary Magdalene, please come into my field of consciousness today. Please be with me. Please mentor me. Please help me. Please guide me. Please show me yourself. And she is right there.
And I also feel, you know, like you do a lot of work with Magdalene in business, and I wanted to talk again about that flow. Because, you know, we've grown up in a society where it's like you have to hustle, hustle, hustle to make it happen.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing now is that because so many of us are in front of screens as well, that we're getting like adrenal failure, and our nervous systems are really affected by all of these technologies and all of the constant like information. Like we're being fed so much information during these times. That's why I personally love Kundalini yoga, because it's like helping us to really navigate and rewire the brain, because we have, as a humanity, we've never really experienced this advancement before. And so that's why I also feel like this is part of the huge rise of the divine feminine, is to find that balance between that hustle and the flow.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you...
Good movie, by the way.
Yeah, we should totally went there.
Love you, Terrence.
Yeah, get it. So how has Mary Magdalene helped you find the balance of the hustle and flow, especially as a mom and an entrepreneur? And, you know, you have like a newborn still here with you, and, you know, little Fox is around, and you've got Forrest running around. Like, how has she really helped you with business?
It is legitimately crazy, Sabrina. How has Magdalene helped me with business? Okay. I mean, I think first of all, last year, she was like, you have to start saying my name publicly, which was like, whoa, that sounds weird and scary, but I did. And since then, things have really taken off in my world and in my work and in my own heart. It's like a testament to when we say yes to those little nudges, it's like we get to know more of ourselves, the more of our power and more of our beauty. And the way I met Magdalene was in this beautiful ceremony of relaxation and receiving by the water. Oh, no wonder I chose that card.
Water card.
Hello. And Magdalene's been actually teaching me some technology, some breathwork technology, and I'm going to share it in Lightcaster Club this month about just what you're talking about, the pineal gland and these concepts of saturation, hydration, the power that we have, you know, as sovereign beings. We have the power to recreate our physical structure. And our physical structure is simply an emanation of what we're believing and thinking and talking about. And so she's showing me how to use breath. This is probably very Kundalini-y. I don't have a lot of Kundalini experience, but I resonate so much whenever you talk about it. And experiencing what it's like to receive like the blessings of water, the blessings of the regeneration potential that we hold to reshape and rejuvenate ourselves so that we can be radiant for forever, like the yogis in the mountains, but we're not in the mountains. We're walking around on the earth. I mean, they're on the earth, but you know what I'm saying? Like we're in daily life. So the answer to the question is that she is often one of these guides that keeps it very simple for me, because I have always like a million balls in the air. And I'm so grateful because things are expanding in my field incredibly. There's so many beautiful opportunities that are happening like right now today, and then like in a year, and all of these this happens to all of us, right? Like we get these ideas and it's like, oh my God, I got to do this right now. I got to do this right now. But the reality of an idea, and if you've been an entrepreneur, you understand like the logistics that go behind an idea, even something as simple as like, oh, I'm going to send an email blast. Like for me, it takes me like a good hour and a half, 2 hours to write a good email and to set it up the way that I like it. And it needs to be quiet, and I need to be resourced. I need to be fed. I need to have gone to the bathroom. It helps if I had a shower and exercise, and then meanwhile, I'm caring for these other people. Essentially, I feel most of the time like I'm doing an impossible job. So I ask for a lot of help, and I never, ever, ever, is that true? I mean, I really value my time to receive and my time to re-resource. And that means, again, I have to put it down. I have to like let go of the chew toy. It's like if I have an idea and I'm like working, and I haven't eaten and my kids are crying and they've watched 2 hours of TV because I'm like working. Like the finished product isn't going to have the frequency that it needs to have. And so to put down the work is to trust again in this brilliant source of all life that is guiding me, and to remember I don't have to control it all. And this is where breath work comes in for me, because remembering that I don't have to control it all is up here. It sounds good to be like, Faye, you don't have to control everything. You can let go and relax. But in my body, I'm still like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Our nervous systems are just shot.
Yeah. And if you've had any trauma, or you've grown up with like any weird vibe in the home, which come on, who hasn't, right? Then it's like, I'm fighting against a very powerful force. Just relax, just take it easy. But it's like, I feel like if I relax, I'm not going to be safe. I feel like I'm on alert. And this is where embodiment practices come in, and just even taking a few deep breaths, like I'm safe to relax. I don't feel safe to relax. I feel like I got to do everything. There's like 100 emails to answer. I'm safe to relax. I'm safe to relax. Everything is cared for. I just show up when I'm ready. Okay, beautiful. And so then that's the frequency behind my offering. And I have direct experience with making offerings that are coming from like, I did it. Like, it's almost like, sometimes I've used the hashtag solopreneur. And recently I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not a solopreneur. First of all, I have a lot of physical help. I have the support of my family, my husband, the people that take care of my children when I'm not with them. I have the support of like my beautiful community, like you and so many other women. And then I have this huge team of multidimensional mentors that are always with me. I'm not doing this by myself, not at all. And so when I bring that frequency of like, we are supported and we're safe and we're doing this for fun, we're doing this for the good of all that is. It's serious, of course, but it's also delightful. That's who I want to hang out with. That's who I want to hire.
For sure.
So that's
Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. That's how she helps me. And, I think like her life is we did this in the Magdalene Entrepreneur, where we kind of use like archetypes from her life as a way to commune with our own business and to interact with our own creative process. And I think it's really just about remembering that when we're creating in our work, we're giving birth, and that it's the union of, I don't really say the divine and the human anymore, because they are the same. It's like the divine and the divine coming together in something completely new. And again, it takes this relaxation. It's like this theme today of relaxation and letting go, and showing up having an approach that is breathful and hydrated and nourished.
I think it's called faith.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean everything is exactly how I want it. That's not faith.
No, because because it can be better than what we want.
That's right. Yep.
And do we want it for status? Do we want it to like boost our reputation? Do we want it because it's going to help others along the way? Do we want it because it's in alignment with the divine? Do we want it because it's what our heart is telling us? And especially in today's world, where there's so much like comparison, with social media and like these engineered images that people are seeing on their feed, thinking that it's quote unquote real life.
Yeah. And I just felt something, but I don't feel it anymore. So yeah, if you feel like that, hang up, like put the phone down and go outside as soon as I get that feeling, because that happens to me all the time, where it's like somebody's like whatever looks fancy and I'm like, I'm a mess.
We compare and we find ourselves as separate,
like
we're belittled because of appearance. But then, and then we create this whole story of why we're not enough and what we're lacking and all that crap.
Yeah, it's a good time to celebrate in those moments, to celebrate the beauty that we're seeing. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. This woman is incredible. Look at how powerful she is.
Because then we attract more of that.
Exactly.
Yes. And I think that's part of this whole shift of like, part of this like shift of the age is like getting out of that Piscean age of competition. And now it's coming more of a space of cooperation and seeing each other as our brother and sister and seeing them as reflections of ourselves that sometimes we just forget, because we're on this path of remembering of who we are as a member of society, as a member of humanity. And so everyone's journey looks different too. And that's something that we have to really honor within ourselves, is that, some of us are clearing like deep ancestral wounds, and some of us are coming in this earth as kind of new spirits, some are old souls and some are new souls. And it's all okay, and just to recognize people for where they are, I think is the biggest thing, and to just really honor ourselves for where we are, because we are our toughest critic.
That's for sure. Yeah. And when you said the word remembering, that word is like, putting the members back together, like putting the body back together. And so here we are one body of Sophia God. We're like, we are the consciousness that is spirit. So all of us matter. We need all of us to have this unified field. And when we have this unified field, that's when the magic really starts to happen. And it just takes like that moment of remembrance. And again, this willingness to accept and surrender to how powerful and beautiful and worthy and loved we are, and how much love we have to give, and seeing ourselves as like an integral part of the whole, of this structure of humanity, of the structure of the universe, of the structure of our, family, of the structure of our own community, micro, macro. Yeah. And, that's a beautiful, it invites us to check out our own physical field and see if there's any parts of our own body that have been left out and left in the dark. And the most obvious place to talk about there is our womb and our yoni, and the places that, you know, we're waking up to we're remembering how powerful they are. And we're learning from each other how to wave and move with the cycles. This is another thing Magdalene's working with me right now, is like paying it, because my cycles come back now, and I haven't really had a real rhythm for like many years because I've been pregnant or nursing. And so I'm working with like how to flow with my months and how to flow with the moon, and how much more effective I am when I pay attention to my needs and honor them above all else. And honestly, I can't always honor my needs above all else because I have these other people to consider that rely on me for everything right now. But it's like, let's just say I'm tired, my period's coming, my moon is going to come. And what would be honoring myself is to like go retreat for 4 days. Okay, it's not going to happen right now, but I can just like take some deep breaths in a dark room for a moment. I can integrate these practices into the life that I have that is busy and is full and is sometimes like, what the heck is happening? And it doesn't have to be like all or nothing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, because, you know, like I have to use my phone to work. Like sometimes I'm on my phone with my kids and I feel like, oh God, like, but that's part of my job. And sometimes I have to look at the phone for what I'm up to. And just remembering like also how powerful we are, that even if our pineal gland is calcified, like we can uncalcify it. There's so many things we can do to heal. And like, we're more powerful than chemtrails, and we're more powerful than like anything that we perceive as happening to us or coming into us to harm us or nothing's holding us down, baby, because we're the creators, right? So yeah. And again, it's like this dance. It's a dance too, because you want to eat organic food because you want to eat organic food, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, it's interesting when you're talking about like moon time too, because I think we're getting back to remembering like the importance of the moon, because up until, you know, electricity, everything was ruled by the moon in terms of, you know, what light you had and what you would do, and the moonlight, and, you know, women syncing together on their moons and coming together. And then I know personally, I've seen a lot of education out there lately about like periods and moons, and people are speaking up about getting off birth control because they want to sync back, because some people haven't had periods in years and they're realizing how it's affecting the hormones. And even like these contraceptives that when we're urinating or anything, like it's in the water, which is being recycled back up, and we're drinking it, which is why we're experiencing high levels of infertility right now, is because, you know, there's these things that while they're great for people that need them, if you can do it without, go for it, because we need to get back to the natural cycles within our bodies as women, because that's where we feel empowered with the moon. Like I know anytime I have cramps, I like put it out there, like I'm in bed for 24 hours and I don't give a shit. And everyone's like, I hear you. I'm eating cake and watching Netflix in bed. And it's just like having those people that understand, because we all have different releases and of it. And, you know, a lot of women are working with menstrual blood again and are really offering it up to the earth to really heal the earth and to really bless and use that really I mean, that's the blood that gives life. And so some people think it's like really crazy, like you're doing what with your what? But it goes back to ancient times and that remembering of how it was before the patriarchy really shunned women for their menstrual cycles and really put this like heavy thing, just like you were saying when you were breastfeeding, you know, Fox on the plane, like having people stare at you, but they think it's normal that like they're eating their fast food or watching like really violent shows and things like that, and thinking that's quote unquote normal because that's what society has told us to. So I think like even stepping up and going back to basics through these rituals, that's been such like ingrained in my head lately, is just back to basics and going back to these ritualistic ceremonial things is when we're in ceremony, that's when we really surpass time and space. And we're just in it. We're in where we are right now. And in ceremony, we can heal the past. We can set the intention for the future, all in this present moment. It's literally the past, present, and future coming together right in that space anytime we go through there. Mm-hmm. And so that's why breath work or meditation or things like that are really essential in today's time, because we're literally cutting through lifetimes, ancestral karma, all these past pains that have been trauma that's been carried with us. And for us to elevate to this 5D Christ consciousness, it's really important for us to find the beauty in the darkness and to use those shadows to really honor that time to birth something new. It's just like when we're in the womb, it's dark. And then that darkness, like think of the new moon, it's dark. That's when we set the intention. And so when we go in those shadows, we can see that as the intention to heal and to transcend and transmute.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just tell you, sorry, Mary Magdalene, man.
Yeah, she's a good teacher about resurrection. That's for sure. She and Isis, they help. So.
Well, and especially because Mary Magdalene's the one that found Jesus in the tomb too. You know.
Yeah, well, and also, you know, the more I really like work with her is, and I've read her Gospels, and it's more than just she found him and announced it. It's like she was his shaman. She helped him to do that with her presence and her skill as a priestess and her own embodiment practice. And so what you're talking about in this place of ceremony that we can get to through prayer and meditation, intention, yoga, you know, embodiment, breath work, this place is sometimes called the Imaginal Realm. And it's not imaginary. It's not like pretend. This is a place where we all have access. Every being communes there. And so just seeing how she was with him during this time when he was entombed, which is the womb, the tomb or the womb, and was able to co-create this experience for him, with him, of rising up and resurrecting, much like Isis put together, you know, Osiris, her beloved, was killed and she put him back together so that they could make a baby, the all-seeing eye of Horus. So basically God. So she's a great mentor for that, for resurrecting in a moment. And, you know, the miracle, like really the miracle, it's miracles that we need, miracles on earth right now, but miracles aren't like it's not.
Of course, miracles say a miracle is a shift of perception from fear to love. So essentially,
it's like that.
Yeah, a shift from that ego, separateness, and then being able to come back to that divine truth of who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like, I don't have to earn it or like work for it or like be a good girl for 10 years to get a miracle. I decide I am the beloved. I am love. I am here to love. I am here to be loved. I am the beloved. Right?
Those I am statements are so powerful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really putting it into standing my ground and really proclaiming of who we are. So that's why we have to be careful when we say, like, I'm sick. Like, don't say I'm sick. You say more, I am feeling sick, or I am feeling sad, because it's what you're feeling, but we're not our feelings, because when our feelings are just helping us navigate through. Once you become aware of that, and it takes time. I mean, like, there's so many times where we hear these things over and over and over again, and then it's not until like we really get the aha, because we really have to like ingrain it and have it be like a practice. But that's part of being gentle with ourselves too.
Totally. And also humanity, because it's like the more we are awake and aware and like paying attention, things that we hear, you know, things that are kind of like just like a natural part of our culture, like, oh, history repeats itself, or like you only live once, or life is short. Like, you know, wait, does history have to repeat itself, or can I recreate this moment and therefore create an entirely new world that's never existed before? is life short, or am I going to live as long as I'd like to live because I have the regenerative power? My cells can regenerate and recreate at any time. Do I only live once, or have I lived already a million times?
Kids these days, they don't know what they're saying.
But it's like, this is stuff that's like, or like, you know, even I think we need to be careful of being like, oh, the patriarchy,
because that's separateness.
Yeah. Well, and it's like if I say that, let's just say I'm like, that guy was staring at me like the patriarchy, fuck the patriarchy. Well, really, he's just an emanation of feelings of shame and fear that are inside of me. He's just showing myself back to me. The shame I have, like I water my plants with my womb blood because I want to say thank you to the earth, and I want to regenerate and participate in the livelihood of my surroundings and participate in the regeneration that the earth is already doing all the time. And because I love essential oils, and that's essentially the blood of the plant. So I want to give back. But the kind of like weird vibe I had the first time I did that, like, that's not because of some outside entity, like putting that on me. That's like,
your insecurities.
It's my own insecurities, and it's like my own ideas that like, oh, this shame is real and I should like abide by it. And I just also want to say, like, that's not to say that like we haven't been raised and like religion isn't real, and like if our family has, you know, said weird things to us, that's not real. But there does come a point when we wake up enough where it's like, I'm a grown woman. I have the tools now. So like, I ain't got time to continue to propagate these old ideas that are harming me and the people around me and our globe, our world. So it's, again, always this dance of like, I'm not like the boss of the world. I'm not going to change the world all by myself. Not at all. And that victimhood, that feeling that there's something out there, like putting this on me, that's sovereignty, is when I say, oh, this is me. What's going on for me right now? Always coming back to me, and then taking responsibility for those feelings, using my breath.
It's freeing yourself from this condition that you think is real, when it's just, and that's like my favorite sutra from Yogi Bhajan about the Aquarian age, is recognize the other person as you.
Yeah.
So when other people are triggering you, it's because those are parts of you that you need to love unconditionally, and parts of you that you need to atone, and parts of you that you need to integrate and love and really just be at peace with.
And a great trick, if it feels really like overwhelming to go inside first, is to pray for that other person and help to see them in the light that you know that they are. And that creates radical shifts. I highly recommend praying for people that you feel a weird vibe or angry, or
because they're just calling out for help. Their energy is calling out for help. And they don't know, and most people don't know what to do, because not everyone has taken the time to do the deep spiritual work and to really pray and to really know themselves, because they're just the zombie, or they're like showered with fear. They haven't reclaimed their sovereignty.
Yeah, it's a crazy, I mean, do I want to say this? But the world there's weird things. People are doing weird things all day long on this planet. So
it's part of the balance. So before we close out, I do want to have some fire questions for you.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay. What is your mantra right now?
I say yes to my full radiance.
Yes. Who are some of your favorite spirit animals that you really resonate with?
Well, my dad comes to me as Crow, and he's like with me all day. He was here this morning. So I love Crow, and I love you, Dad. Thank you for all the support. I mean, my dad is like, it's amazing how much he gives me in my earth walk now. And there's been a lot of spider medicine lately, helping to remind me about reweaving and like not too long ago, there was a spider on my car. She built her web like on my rear view or my side view mirror, and I was going to drive away and I saw it and I was like, oh, I have to move you because you're going to die if I drive away. And so I had to scoop her up and move her and basically like drive away with her house that she had just created. It was a little heartbreaking, but she was like, I recreate a new house, no problem. So she's a great reminder of when those things feel weird, when we don't feel comfortable, like to take a look inside. It's a ding, 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 ding. Something's not right. Look inside. Someone's going to drive away with you on their car or whatever, and recreate how you do want it. Anybody else? Hawk, but I haven't seen Hawk in a while. A lot of vulture energy in my neighborhood, clearing.
Beautiful. What would be if you had one book to recommend?
The Sophia Code by Kaya Ra.
Hands down.
Please, everyone go read this book from the very beginning. Take your time. Take as much time as you need, but please go read that book.
Yeah, it's really powerful. I was telling Faye I couldn't sleep till 4:00 this morning because I was reading the whole section on Mary Magdalene, and it was just like the initiates and oh my God, the pillars, and it was so powerful.
Mm-hmm. It's the real deal.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kaya.
Thanks, Kaya.
So blessed to have her on earth.
Oh, totally. If you had one thing you can share with younger Faye, what would it be?
Oh, you're doing great. I love you so, so much. And thank you. I actually feel like my younger Faye is teaching me today. I don't feel like I need to give her advice. I feel like she has she needs to give me advice. I invite her into the back of my conscience. I invite her to step into the back of my body and be the eyes that I see with my little baby Faye, but also like the sassy, I was like running the streets for a while, I was like, I don't know. I had a lot of chutzpah. And so I invite her into my energy field and I invite her to like check out what's going on. And this girl that was like unindoctrinated. Yeah. I invite her into my field. So I say, thank you. Thank you, younger Faye. I love you.
I love that. What would you say is one thing you know for sure?
That God is love and that I am God in a body and I am love.
Yes. Beautiful. And then what would be one thing, hey, you have 2 boys. What would you say is the greatest lesson that they are teaching you?
Oh my God. Oh man. It's like nothing I could have imagined being a mother. It's really the most, it calls me to the mat every day in every way. So, to be yourself and to do things that delight you and to take your time. And, what Forrest teaches me is how to be like really, really friendly and outgoing. And at the same time, not get hooked by other people. Forrest says hello to everybody. And then when he's done and he moves on. And then I would also say they're showing me like the importance of doing the work and working with my own inner child and supporting her. And here, just after I've said like, oh, I don't have any advice for her, but I do have so much love. And I call on Mother Mary and Hathor for this work. I call on them to help support my inner child, this part of me that still feels like kind of like, what the fuck is going on here? Who's in charge? Because I see myself in Forrest, especially he's 3, he looks a lot like I do, and he's a lot like me. And so it's very confronting, And so when I get that feeling of like, you need to listen to me, who is inside of me that needs to be listened to? Because it's always about me, always, always, always. And then Foxy Baby is teaching me how to just hang out. He just hangs out looking around, and he They're also like incredible movers. They use their body every day, all day. Go, 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 moving, 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 exploring, moving in new ways. So they're like super agile and flexible and malleable. And that's how I want to be. I don't want to get all calcified. So
And I think it's so awesome that Forrest is like obsessed with the garbage guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like her son Forrest, he loves like the garbage man and he loves the garbage truck. And I think that anytime I see that, what Forrest teaches me is to just throw out the shit that doesn't serve, you know, release what doesn't serve. There's non-attachment, and to be grateful as it goes away.
That's right. We celebrate the garbage men in our house for sure. They're like famous. We know all of them by name. Like we follow them on Mondays. That's our garbage day. And yeah, he loves his cans and his Yep.
And then one last thing, you have an event coming up on Saturday.
Oh yeah, if this is not aired yet, on July 22nd, on Magdalene's feast day, I am co-offering an anointment ceremony virtually with my beloved friend Lizzie Ray Rose. She's at Awake Woman on Instagram, and she's a powerful oracle herself. She works a lot with the Order of Magdalena, and so we're going to come together with Mary Magdalene and with this beautiful Order of Magdalena and facilitate healing anointment along the chakras as facilitated by everyone's higher self. So Mary Magdalene's medicine is the medicine of anointment. The story is that she anointed Jesus, and the word Christ means anointed one. So if Magdalene anoints Jesus as Christ, you see the power of, basically in very simple terms, Magdalene is the body, Jesus is the spirit. It's very, very simple and not complete at all, but the body anointing the spirit. So using our physicality to bring in the spirit of all life. And so anointing ourselves with oils, with water, but we're going to use our breath and experiment and experience the power of our breath as God praying through us and unifying our field and consecrating us as the divine feminine leaders that we are, man or woman. So yeah, that's at 11 o'clock on Saturday, July 22nd. You can get a ticket for $22 in the link, wherever it is. I hope you join us.
Yes. And then she also has the Lightcaster Club where she does a lot of breath alchemy and one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, I offer Lightcaster Club is a nice, affordable way to experience Magdalene channeling and breath alchemy twice a month. And you can come live or get the recording. And then I do very limited private sessions, and Lightcaster Club gets first access to those. And then I offer a 3-month private mentorship container that weaves all of this Magdalene and your guides and practical coaching, business coaching and spiritual coaching and mentorship with breath alchemy. So it's different because it has this integrative piece built into it. So like all the inspiration and the motivation and like the fancy quotes that we see, like they don't go anywhere if we don't have a practice of integrating. So, and that I think I have an opening in winter, like in December. So yeah, hit me up, and I'm on Instagram all the time, and I love connecting with other Magdalene sisters. Just know, like, if you feel called to Magdalene, beloveds, like, she's here for us right now. She's a wonderful mentor and helper. She's sowed all those seeds way back when, and she's helping us to nurture them and water them and tend to them, and we're all going to watch them flower together for generations to come. So yeah, you're not alone.
You're not alone. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah, this message about the feast day and about celebrating Mary Magdalene, of course, thank you. But remembering too that this is the end of hierarchy, so that when we are praying to the God of our own heart. When we call in the help from ascended masters, they're just there to support our own will, our own desires, and our own joys. And we are valuable, important, worthy, and loved, and so full of love enough that our desires and our joys and our dreams are imperative to creating heaven on earth. They not only matter for the sake of our own happiness, which is what this whole life thing is all about, they matter for the sake of creating the miracles that we need on earth right now. So beloved, please pay attention. Please honor your own heart, your own desires, your own interests, and take them as the word of God. Yeah.
Yay.
And thank you, Sabrina. I love you so much.
Words will never be able to suffice the amount of love I have for you, Faye. Thanks for joining me. And thanks, everyone. All of the links will be listed below on SoundCloud and also through the Sovereign Goddess podcast on shamanessigadesa.guru and also through iTunes. You can find Faye on Instagram at Faye Wylder and faywylder.com. And if you liked this episode, please leave us a comment and leave us a review on iTunes so more beautiful people can find these beautiful transmissions and these messages to really empower, to go out there, build your queendom with grace, live with sovereignty, help one another, and together we can help uplift this planet. One intention at a time. Aho. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you, Faye, and have a great one. Take care.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.